Well, hi, folks, and welcome back to Everyday Empowerment Institute podcast. Now, today I'm talking with an old friend of mine, David Osborne from Profitable Personnel. Now, David and I have done a whole range of things together in the past. But, David, first of all, thank you for agreeing to be on our Everyday Empowerment Institute podcast.
My pleasure. Look forward to the chat.
Mate, a couple of years ago, we did a podcast, but as you've said to me, the landscape with COVID has completely changed, let alone with technology and a whole range of things that have gone on in the area of recruiting. So that's one of the reasons we're talking today is what you've seen that has changed. I was on the website just today and people talking about the war for talent, the great resignation. And as you know, Everyday Empowerment Institute is literally about empowering businesses to move up. And let me just share the screen with you so that we can be talking specifically about this model we have called the ladder of business evolution. That is where level 1 is where a person's got an idea for a business, and level 8 is where the business is able to run without the manager, without the founder, and can in fact be sold off or exited, and it's an asset that's fully capitalized. And what we want to talk about today is you and your experience and what you're recommending in terms of recruiting as a key and an important strategy to help businesses move from level 1, level 2, from danger, emergency, normal operation, right through to fully optimized and able to sell. So, David, first of all, maybe in the first instance, let's hear a bit about your background in terms of what has brought you to this point of being an expert in recruitment.
I was at Curtin University for 8 years as a management lecturer, and I worked with numerous companies that supported gold mining companies and also worked with gold mining companies. And essentially, I saw how they conducted their business. And then I had to work in industry because if you're a lecturer, what do they say, Lee? They say those that do, and those that can't.
That's George Bernard Shaw. It was a line in a play. Those that can do, those that can't teach. But what we know is if you can't teach, then you can't scale. So you actually have to be able to teach and coach if you're actually going to grow a business. So the George Bernard Shaw needs to slap around the head for that line.
However, the population has adopted that. And
yes, as if it's some scientific truth. Yes.
So I went to work for Barrick Gold, the #1 gold producer, and I was their training coordinator, and I coached their employees for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on my experiences as a management lecturer and also Barrick Gold, I have set up my business, and I've been running a business for 15 years in this area. So I haven't deviated, and I have observed trends, and I've seen people enter into positions and monitored how they have traveled in those roles. And so that's the data that I've got. Prior to going to university, I was a state coach for triathlon. So there is a degree of performance in my blood. And prior to that, as you well know, Lee, I was in the army. And
I know you're in the British Army, sir. I know you were.
So, and basically
a pentathlete in the British Army.
Pentathlete School of Excellence. So it's in my DNA to look out for what is performance. And so if you're looking to have performers around you, this discussion will be useful.
And not only that, as you say, I love that Vince Lombardi, we chase perfection, but we catch excellence. And as you say, whether it be in the army as a pentathlete, looking to chase excellence and catch excellence in pentathlon, let alone coaching others. And now, of course, the importance of the recruiting process and optimizing performance of a business through recruiting. You've talked to me about this theory of enablement and empowerment. And obviously our whole business is about empowering people. So tell us about that, particularly in the context of what is going on in the marketplace right now, where, you know, people are talking about this war for talent, where more and more people, they talk about the great resignation, people through COVID saying, listen, I'm not putting up with this ecosystem, which is another one of the E's we talk about. I'm sick of this ecosystem. It's actually not empowering me. It's not enabling me. So tell us about what you've been working on, particularly over this last 12 months and the paper that you sent me over the last few days.
Essentially, the marketplace has changed and people have woken up to the fact that life is not constant and COVID and other viruses and illnesses can come your way. and people are now no longer in such a delusional state that everything will be fine. And when you're in your 20s and 30s, the chances are that's how we all operated. So now the talent in those age groups are thinking, well, what is my life and work life going to be? And what should I actually consider? So that's what's changed. People have actually started to wake up and think, well, I'm mortal. So that's what's changed. What I wanted to really focus on is my observations in regards to how business owners obtain that talent. And I'm going to go back to the way business owners think about actually trying to bring someone into an organization. And what I've noticed is that they will use a process that is, there are behaviors that are adopted, and those behaviors are adopted by looking at other adverts on Seek, Indeed, or LinkedIn. And it's copying the same behaviors. And the people who are copying those same behaviors have an assumption that that is actually going to make a good decision moving forwards. So that's actually enabling a business owner to be stuck, because you're going to copy the same ad as your competitors and expect a different result. So the enabling and empowerment theory that I've developed is that if you've got people around you who are coming to you having undertaken behaviors based on assumptions, and they've copied something, then you're not going to move up Lee's ladder of empowerment. You will not move up that ladder. You need people around you who are looking at the data, looking at the actual trends, and are saying, hey, boss, this is how I think we need to tackle this. And we need to reposition how we're going to approach the marketplace.
Interesting enough, of course, Daniel Pink talks about the fact that we've moved beyond the information age, the computer age, to the age of the concept worker. The concept worker able to look at data, look at patterns, and do things that artificial intelligence can't do. The human factor. And one of the things we're doing at Everyday Empowerment Institute is saying, well, one, we want to be equipping people with the skills to be a concept worker, an entrepreneur running a business from a creative point of view as an employee. And at the same time, there's a whole range of what we call the soft skills that people often aren't taught at university or college or anywhere else, which is what you're talking about, being able to use data, but interpret in such a way that gives the boss, the owner, new insights to create the breakthrough that they wouldn't have got before. And what sounds like what you're saying to me is, if an owner, a founder, is just using the same recruiting processes as their competition, then all they're ever going to do is, at best, match the competition, not get the actual breakthrough. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly right. And you're looking for a breakthrough.
Yeah.
You're not looking for, well, this is how I think we can do it. This is what other people are doing. Why would you follow that process? You need to be empowered with new data, with trends, with some analysis, so that you can have a breakthrough thought process. Yeah. If you've got employees around you who you know have given you work or assisting you with decisions based on assumptions, you're not being empowered. You're being enabled to stay stuck. And prior to our chat this morning, I wrote a definition of enabling, and essentially it's to get the same results and that leads to a chronic demise of your business.
Well, of course, you're reminding me of one of our friends. They found out that their son had a drinking problem, and eventually they had to go to counselling. And the counsellor said to them, you've actually enabled him. You've actually continued to support him in his behaviour. In other words, they were getting some bills for ambulances, and the daughter was protecting the son, and they just paid the ambulance bills and never even spoke to the son about the ambulance bills. And the psychologist said, you are enabling, in other words, you are supporting his behavior. If you're going to actually change his behavior, you have to change your behavior. And what you're saying there is, if you're going to actually change the results of your business, then you clearly need to change how you go about the recruiting process, who you bring on. I mean, what are some of the common mistakes you've seen over your 15 years, and particularly even over the last 12 months, some of the common mistakes where you just go, what is this person doing? And of course, we know from a psychological point of view, people act from a point of good intention. In other words, they don't go, I'm going to recruit so that it stuffs up my business. They've got a thought process because I'm going to do it because that seems like a good idea, or, somebody else told me. What are some of the mistakes that you've seen people making, David, in their recruiting process that have enabled, just so that we get some concrete examples, so the listener, the viewer can go, oh God, that sounds like me, or yeah, I know someone who's done that. Give me 2 or 3 examples. Nutty things
you open the door to a whole discussion there. So
Pandora's box.
So number one, the big mistake is, look, understand that your reality is based on your personality. So if you want to change your reality, the results that you're getting, you're going to have to change some of your thinking.
Yeah. Well, Einstein, the problems we have facing us need to be solved with different thinking, different consciousness. If we want to change the results, we have to change the consciousness, the level of awareness, the level of thinking we operate at. So what give me some of those horror stories you've seen. Yeah.
So look, if you consider that you'll go on Seek and you'll see a whole dialogue about our company, and they will talk about how good and innovative the company is. That's a behavior that is all about the company. So what would a viewer, someone who's looking for a role, be thinking? Because they'd be thinking, well, this company believes very strongly in themselves, and this ad is highly tilted to ego, and it's highly tailored to ego. Where is anything to do with what we are looking for now in today's society? If you look at the data, why people are leaving jobs, and if I look at the multitude of data that's out there, they're leaving jobs because they're disengaged. There's no meaning and purpose. People don't actually clarify their goals. Something like 50% of position descriptions aren't aligned to the goals. They don't get clear direction. They don't get feedback on what they're doing. And there's a lack of trust in the marketplace. So people are leaving companies as a result of this. So if you want to attract someone, rather than just talk all about your business and how that is tailored to how that makes you feel about yourself, what about tailoring some of the ad to what people are actually looking for? Because you know why they're leaving now. It's not hidden. There's plenty of data out there why people are now disillusioned with companies. Yet that data is not taken and translated into an offer that's meeting all the reasons why people are being disengaged. That is not occurring.
Yeah, right. And as you say, the ego, I mean, I love alliteration. And as you say, there's a strong relationship between ego. In fact, I just put an email out this morning talking about a little case study of saying, Marie took this new job on. The ad sounded fantastic. They made it sound terrific in the interview. We're going to do this and you can do that. And Marie loved helping people and coaching and putting teams together and making projects happen. And within months, she saw, hang on, they're not letting me do any coaching. They don't anything that they said in the actual interview and in the ad is not happening. I'm actually stuck in this admin job doing all this paperwork, and it's not meeting any of my needs in terms of meaning, fulfillment, sense of satisfaction. And then even worse, put on top of that an egomaniac boss that thinks they're the legend, that, that the egomaniac boss, when there's a success, the egomaniac boss is the one in the limelight. And when things go wrong, the egomaniac boss is very quick to blame the people. Of course, it doesn't take long for Marie to say, okay, I'm going to start looking around for something else. And in fact, if I can set up my own business and do my own thing so that I don't have to be in traffic all day, so that I can spend more time with my 2-year-old, that's what I'm going to do, which of course we're finding a lot of people, the Great Resignation, are leaving. They are setting up their own business if they can work from home. And a lot of people, of course, working over the internet and obviously coaching and wanting to help and empower others. And if they can make the same or more, then that's what they want to do. So you've got these people who are still living, I think, in the 50s or the 60s saying, I'm doing you the favor by giving you the job, and you should be very grateful. And when I ask you to do extra, then, I mean, as you say, just on that, in terms of egos, what do you see in terms of, obviously, we've just literally on our online courses, there's a whole course we've put together called The Nature of the Human Ego. And what we've, and you'd know from your background in management as well, there's a healthy ego and there's an unhealthy ego. The unhealthy ego, of course, wanting to blame others, wanting to look good, not able to take feedback, so on and so on. And of course, somehow, some of these people end up in team leader, management, sometimes even senior management positions. What are you, coming back to enabling, of course, what happens sometimes is organizations actually enable that person with the unhealthy ego to somehow bully their way into a position where now they've got control. What have you seen some of this ever happen in your career, placing good people into environments that end up being dominated by unhealthy egos?
Oh yeah, look, absolutely. I mean, I'm not mentioning names, but a tower block in Perth, they needed someone to do what they needed, property management, but also a 15-year prediction. In economic terms, a prediction for a tower block in Perth. The person we found was a director from another commercial property company who had a maths degree. And they created a 15-year prediction. And if you can imagine that, we're talking about a significant building with an economy that's really hard for anyone to predict. And the owners of the building essentially are hard. And they've been very successful for year on year at 6% growth, no matter what the situation. So this lady created the plan. They thought she did really well. And the manager didn't allow her to do very much property management or anything else in terms of creative thinking after that point in time. And she left 11 months later. That is notorious in business for that to occur. So I'm going to come back for a business owner, because a business owner is listening to this podcast.
Absolutely.
And the first thing business owner needs to think about is, okay, today's the day I need to perhaps check what my thinking is and challenge my thinking. And the first check I would ask a business owner to do is that if anyone comes to them who is a manager or supporting them to make a decision, if they don't have data, if they don't have some analysis why something is going to occur, then stop and ask them not to enable you to be stuck in making poor decisions. Ask people to come to you with data and to empower you, because you need to be empowered so you can make good decisions. Now, when it comes to making a decision about getting a good person into your business, let's just talk football, because Lee, I know you like football. Yes. And let's talk about professional football. How do they go about looking for talent?
Well, if you're talking about soccer, let's just say Ronaldo's gone back to Manchester United, then clearly they're going on track record and form. And let's just, again, if we're saying Ronaldo, then you'd not only be looking at track record and form, you'd be looking at their aptitude for training, and you'd be looking at their aptitude for personal discipline and how well they fit it into a team, because a person can be a great performer, but if they go in and blow the team apart with their own ego, in fact, there's many teams that have what they call the no dickhead rule, which is really essentially saying no people with unhealthy egos who think that they're actually better than everybody else. So that'd be some of my answers, but what do you say?
So they would target someone like Ronaldo, wouldn't they? They would know who they want. They would know exactly the type of person they need in their team, and they'd have a list of people that they're going to review. Would that be step one?
The list. Yes.
Yes. I've got to emphasize this. Would they throw out an advert on the Premier League SIG site looking for a striker? Would they do that?
Striker needed at Manchester United. Please apply.
And Manchester United is 150 years old, and we've got the capacity for seating here. And we're very innovative.
We've got a lovely cafeteria for you.
Yes, really think about it. They're targeting. And they're targeting, and you said a key word there, on results. This person has a track record of results. So what does that mean? If they've got results, they must have behaviors that led to the results. Great. Well, what would those behaviors likely to be? Well, they're likely to be disciplined. They're likely to be committed to achieving a win. They're likely to be optimistic, enthusiastic, and take initiative. Those are the behaviors they would have.
Yeah.
What would lead to those behaviors being omitted? Beliefs, and beliefs that, this is my career, I love what I'm doing, I'm going to do the best for you. So essentially, if you're a business owner, you need to target people based on results. And then if you look at their results, you've got a fair idea what behaviors they've got. You don't need a PhD in football plan. I don't know anyone in the Premier League or AFL who's got a master's degree, even a degree in AFL plan. They've looked at results, behaviors, and beliefs. And that's how they have selected these people into their company, into the business. What happens next? So we've got a list of 20 people, let's say, Lee. What would the business, the football team, do?
Well, I mean, you'd go out and make contact with those people. See who would like to join, or at least are they thinking about moving? And then, like, let's take Ronaldo again, going to Manchester United. He'd been over there what was the company, the Italian team? Do you remember it? Juventus, wasn't it?
Can't remember.
Yeah, up in the town that starts with T, Fiat, Federa Turin, I think it is. Anyway, clearly they'll be going, is he available? Is he interested in coming across? Let's begin to have the chat.
Right. So look, here's the thing. You make contact with them. And when I started 15 years ago, I had that high moral ground of, look, I'm not going to poach anyone. But the reality is, poaching is luring someone out of a company who is very happy where they are and they don't really want to move, and you lure them out with falsehoods. We're not talking about poaching. We're talking about making contact. So there's nothing wrong with making contact. So point number 2 is make contact with someone. You go to the people you want in your team.
You're proactive in this regard.
Be proactive.
Yeah.
I don't see any adverts on the Premier League or AFL on Seek. I don't see it.
So it's all happening below the radar.
Yes.
It's all happening below the radar.
And all the data's there. Only 18% of people find their jobs on those sort of job boards. So when you go and see Ronaldo, what are you going to consider? Are you going to consider all these factors that have disengaged people previously and then turn them into positive attributes for your contract and your position? Are you going to do that?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to probably ask him what is it that he would consider. Is he thinking of moving? Would he be interested in moving? I mean, in his case, he already had an emotional attachment to Manchester United, and in fact, he said, "I've come back really for Alex Ferguson. I've come back for you because of all the great things you've done for me." So there was some quite good, strong emotional leverage there, which at the end of the day, as we say, whether you're buying a car or a pair of shoes or making most decisions, it's 20% logic, 80% emotion. What's the emotional component? So
let me just interject there. You would position that deal with looking at all the things that Ronaldo would be interested in, and you would be saying, well, look, this is what's on the table. And part of what's on the table, really importantly, is who the heck is the manager? Because we know that 70% of people leaving most workplaces, it's a result of the interaction with a manager.
Absolutely.
And then who is the business owner? Why are they in business? The days of leaving or hiding what your aspirations are and your purpose are to one side are gone. We want to know who is the business owner, what's driving that business owner, who is the manager who I will be reporting to, because I hear that in every interview.
It's a great line. Who is the manager I'll be reporting to?
And what have they achieved? And what I, tell me how they have managed people. Do they actually have a monthly discussion? Will they provide me guidance? What is their managerial style? So now really make your culture transparent, because that's what people are looking for. There's a lack of trust in the marketplace. Huge lack of trust. So you need to make a good culture. If you have a good culture, you need to make that transparent. And where is this person going to go? What's the career opportunity? What have you got planned for them? Whenever I ask a business owner some of these questions, it's like, what? Why can't they just join me and go for the ride?
Be happy to collect the wage. They've got a job, they've got a desk. I'll put a roof over their head.
No, because they can go on YouTube and they can see entrepreneurs making millions of dollars doing all sorts of other things. And those days are gone.
Two examples, David. I mean, again, we say, model best practice, or at least go, who are some superstars? First of all, Elon Musk. You look at Musk at Tesla, Musk at SpaceX, and he talks about, one, I want to recruit the best engineers, because if I need the best brains on my team, but the best engineers, they're also looking not for the best beanbag or the best cafeteria. They actually want to be challenged and learn and grow. They want to be excited intellectually. And so again, coming back to the ecosystem of excellence. And another great model that we've used and do use is the Lululemon, where Chip Wilson in founding Lululemon said, I want to invest and get people exposed in terms of personal development. And literally what I want with those people is not only to develop them as human beings so that they understand how their mind works and how they can optimize their own potential, but I want them setting a 10-year and 5-year and 2-year and 1-year plan. And I don't expect them to be with me in 10 years' time. If anything, if they're running their own any other business, but I want Lululemon and what we do at Lululemon to help them get where they want to go in life. In other words, there's a relationship between their personal goals and their personal passion and ambition, and where we're going. And if they happen to be with us for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, then we're all winners out of it. But I don't expect them to be prisoners, handcuffed to my business and rolling up each day just for the wage. And so there's a strong relationship, as you say, between personal development and alignment between the person or the applicant's personal ambition and passion, and then how the company, and when Richard Branson talks about it, train them well enough so that they can leave, but treat them well enough so that they stay. Now, again, that still is a shock to a lot of people. We're talking about setting up empowering, high-performing ecosystems. So how does that fit with what you're talking about in terms of enabling and keeping stuck versus empowering and realizing full potential?
Well, what you've just highlighted would probably be a shock to a lot of business owners. And if it is a shock, then they need to chat to you and they need to really immerse themselves with what you've just said, because what you've just said is going to lead them to those stages of growth and being able to potentially sell their business. If they don't immerse themselves in empowering thought processes, then they're going to struggle. That's it.
Yeah.
And 15 years of working with business owners and observing this, they will struggle. So essentially, they need to shock themselves into understanding that their reality is based on their personality. So if they want to change the reality, change the personality. Start now. And if you want to start, don't accept someone giving you stuff based on assumptions. You want people who give stuff based on data. Now, the people who will give you stuff based on data, insightful stuff, are learners. Now, what are learners? They're basically people who are aspiring to be better. So you must look for people who are aspiring to be better. So what does that mean? They want a career development plan and a training plan. So If you want those type of people to help you on your journey, would you want to make that transparent to them in your ad? Or perhaps that ad you put in front of them. That's my proposition. Stop thinking people are looking online for your company and all the things that you're going to offer them. Go directly to them with your irresistible offer.
It's not dissimilar. I mean, obviously, it's not dissimilar to the sales process. Of we say start with who is your ideal customer, who's your ideal avatar, and invariably we go, well, if you don't know who your ideal customer is, at least look back and go, who have been some of my ideal customers? What have been their characteristics? And so you do the same with employees in terms of who have been some of my great employees and team members in the past, what's made them great. And in most cases, as you say, it's their thinking, it's their data-driven decisions. At times it'll be how they challenge you and how they challenge the status quo. I mean, in one of our online courses, we use a quote from David Hewlett, one of the founder of Hewlett Packard. He said, don't only surround yourself with smart people, but surround smart people who are willing to challenge you. And obviously then it's well, how do you challenge someone without being an absolute prick? Because there's a way of challenging me out of my status quo, challenging my thinking. And again, as you say, if it's data-driven challenge, that's way different than personality-driven challenge. Stop being so stupid. You're so dumb. You always make dumb. It's that whole attacking the person as distinct from, mate, I know you're a great person, but let's take a look at this data. Let's take a look at these facts. And then off the basis of that, we make a decision together. But again, these are things that we teach in our programs, David, because what we find, and again, from Walt Disney way back, saying, we want people who are great team players, who are great creative thinkers, who are able to keep moving the business forward in terms of intrapreneur. But none of this, almost none of it. I talk to people who've done MBAs, and they say, mate, none of this was covered in our MBA. Now, it might be covered in some small sliver of MBA, but of course, we then say it's not just about covering the information, it's about experiencing it and implementing it, which is why in our programs, we have people implementing what we call micro projects. So they're learning, just like in your pentathlon, you can talk about shooting a gun, you can talk about running, but at some point you actually have to practice the mind, body, spirit, motor, muscle memory. You've actually got to do it. So here, what we're doing in this podcast, of course, is raising these issues. But what we want is people literally picking up the phone and having meetings and doing things different. So they're actually doing the reps. What are some of the specific actions you recommend people take, David, that are different? Now, you've touched on some of them, but let's start getting really practical in terms of, A, B, C. What are some of the things you recommend people do?
Okay, so if you were going to find people who are going to drive your business forwards, if that was an aspiration, of course, you may just want to recruit and just have someone who will be filling a space. But my thought process is you'd want people around you who will drive your business forwards. If you are looking for that type of person, you need to profile very thoroughly. So you essentially, I always start with results. What results do I want this person to achieve in this position? And there are 8 goals that I would look at, and they will start with, a couple of them would be output, then there'll be the quality, then there'll be the timeliness, then how they deal with customers, how do they deal with their team. If you don't have those numbers for that position, don't go to market.
Right. So straight away there, you're talking about, at least in sales, we call that buying criteria. There's at least 8 buying criteria you need to get your mind around. Again, we say everyday empowerment industry, clarity today for growth tomorrow. You're saying if you want growth in your business, get clear on the criteria of the person you're actually looking to hire. What are those?
I'm going to interject. This is one of the number one work, apart from your personality is creating your current reality. So sort that out, but get clear about who is likely to drive your business forwards. And if it's not down on paper, don't go to market, and don't give it to an enabler to actually go to market for you. Stop it. You write down what exactly you want someone to achieve in the first 12 months. Then you write down, well, what are the ways that this person is likely to achieve? Because people like a certain methodology. So a BDM, for example, some will have a call cycle. Some won't operate like that. But if you want a BDM who's got a call cycle, who's going to see your clients and create that relationship, then you write that down. And then once you've got that, you can start looking for people who've got that track record of doing that sort of thing. The next thing I do is go, well, why would they come and work with me? What are the things that people are looking for now? They want to know that the business owner is trustworthy, has a mission, a purpose, is inspirational. And I'm going to say a current friend of ours, Paul Harris, if you look at his video in regards to advertising anything he does, he's just boom, 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 boom. You know, you'd want to work for me because this is an adventure. It's not a job. And he's got...
They're the words he uses. It's an adventure, not a job. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. So, you know, and let me tell you, this thing sells itself. You put it in there for 30 days. Don't worry about the upfront costs because there aren't any, and et cetera, et cetera. So essentially you then put that irresistible offering. Now the offering is often now not just salary, but you do need to think about what this person will provide you as a return on investment. Because so often I see business owners thinking, oh, it's so smart to cut salary down to market rates. Really? Have you ever thought that this person, and the research is out there, if you get a high performer, they will give you significantly more than someone on market rates. It's out there. So good salary, good benefits, make sure your culture is absolutely transparent. I want to see that manager I'm going to be potentially reporting to. Have they innovated and achieved? Was it really an adventure? Would I be inspired by that manager? Would I be inspired by the business owner? So you create your irresistible offer, and part of that are videos. And you create a careers page that is going to be enticing someone through your selection methodology. So this is how I would move forwards. I would target people knowing who I wanted to target. I would then put your irresistible offer in front of them. And then I'd have a selection methodology that made sure I got objective data. Horror story for you right now. Having told things like that to business owners, do you know what often they do? They see a resume and they go, oh, there's a war on talent. I'll pick up the phone straight away. And they don't move through a selection process. They just get on the phone. That never works in the end because they're not respected by the talent that comes in.
It's not the hard, easy principle. In other words, it becomes too easy to join. And therefore, as you say, the hard, easy principle, too easy to join means the relationship's completely different than, hang on, I literally had to jump through some hoops here to get to this.
They don't value the opportunity, and they know the person's going to circumnavigate any procedure you put in front of them. And so they're going to just go, well, is this exactly how we've made a decision to do something? Are we actually going to do it that way? So don't behave like that. So essentially, those are the steps. So I'll just summarize those steps.
Yes.
Profile exactly who you are looking for and start with the goals. Be crystal clear. Don't give this activity to someone who doesn't understand this. Then you target or you start to collect people who have achieved similar goals in a similar way. Then you put your offer thinking, well, what is it that these people, what's going to attract them to my position? And part of that is they want to see you. They want to see your manager. They want to know about your culture. Because let's just talk about salespeople, for example. How many times have you heard commissions not being paid or goalposts being moved?
It's not uncommon. In fact, it can be quite common. And of course, it completely demotivates the people who are out there, on the front line, taking all the no's and working extra hours and doing all those things. Yeah.
And look, if you've got a manager who is doing that, who is playing that game of blaming excuses and who is just thumping you to achieve, then that's not going to work. So essentially you craft an offer and hopefully you realize that your culture needs to be one that's conducive to people who are aspirational, because good people want to be around good people. They don't want to be around people who are thugs. Because that's what they are. They're thugs.
Yeah.
They're old-fashioned managers. The Carpenter Report 1992 highlighted poor management styles, and thus we've got a plethora of diplomas. but there's still thug management out there. If you've got a thug manager, understand that won't empower you up your ladder of empowerment. So essentially, if you want good people, then you ensure that you put your best foot forwards. You bring them into your organization and you give them a career pathway. If that means in 5 years' time they go to someone else, that's fine. Get over that. You harness the potential in your football team for the next 5 seasons and you win 5 flags, 5 championships. Wouldn't that be a good result?
Yeah. And of course, then you start to talk about where is my succession plan. You talked about the website. So we talk about in recruiting, always be looking for a bench so that people know that we're looking for people like, as Mr. Harris says, looking for adventurers. But the other thing we then, of course, go beyond that. So they get selection, induction, the training, the ongoing measurement and the management, the system. So there's all the other back end in terms of creating the ecosystems. But here in particular, I mean, as you know, David, for years, we've done a lot of work in the area of sales training and working with sales teams. But the fact of the matter is you cannot make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. If you've recruited people without the aptitude or the skills, and again, there's been work, Harvard Business Review, talking about the importance of empathy and ego in the sense of desire to achieve. You've got to be measuring those things with salespeople and being aware of it, which again, results will show you some of those things. You've got to put the science in at that front end and get the right people in the room. And as you've done many times, you've got it in your graph, you've got it in your papers that you've put together there, the report. You put the right person in, watch the graph move beautifully in the right direction.
Yeah.
The magical but very predictable effect of put up a high performer into a sales position, do the right thing in terms of, as you say, the recruiting process and the induction process. And watch the magic happen. But it is a predictable, systematic approach versus, oh, look, this is the first person that's rolled up. They seem okay. They were good in the interview. That solves that problem. Solves a problem today, blows things up for the next 6 to 12 months after that.
Data from some human resources department and research suggests that 92% of recruitment campaigns are not measured 12 months down the track for the results that they've achieved. That what they measure is how quickly did we get someone in? That's recruitment.
Yeah.
It's not selection to be empowered.
Yeah.
How quickly did we manage to get someone in to fill that position? Are you serious?
Wow.
If you're not measuring 12 months down the track the impact of your decision, and if you've got if you're listening now and you've got an HR manager and they haven't told you, well, we recruited this person, this is how they're performing, problem. That's a problem because you don't know how well you're recruiting.
Yes. Well, that's why, again, recruiting, as you just said, is way more than just getting someone in a seat to solve that problem. What you're talking about is a recruiting process that has things done before the recruiting and then the actual measurement component in terms of the ROI and the impact, which again is why you're called profitable personnel. Let's actually measure what has happened to profit as a result of that personnel, that recruiting process you've actually put in place. So, David, I'm conscious of our time. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you feel we should cover before we wind up this podcast today?
I just think there is just so much you could cover more, and I'm going to wrap now. But business owners listening to you do need to embrace being immersed in your thinking, and that is challenging their thinking. Well, and if you're not obtaining the results that you're looking for, then there needs to be questioning of yourself. And then don't allow people to enable you to stay stuck. Exactly. So I want to be empowered. I want to get the best out of myself I can possibly obtain. I want my business to grow, thrive, and potentially have a positive impact on the world. So today's the day that starts. And I'm wanting anyone around me to lift their game and give me data, challenge what I'm thinking, and let's grow. Let's stop the assumptions. And lastly, if I was going to hire anyone, I'm going to hire like a professional football coach. I'm going to identify who I want. I will know what I want from who I want. I'm going to put a really good package together and then I'm going to approach them.
Alex Ferguson. You actually look and sound a bit like Alex. You're a bit more of a Scottish accent. You'd have that Alex Ferguson down pat. David, thank you so much for your time today, mate. People can get in contact with you at profitablepersonnel.com.au.
Yeah, and if you look on the website, that's Profitable Personnel website, we've got a lead magnet that gives you some ideas and data in regards to what not just what we do, but what's in the marketplace. Just lastly on that, 87% of people working are open to a new offer.
Whoa.
Are you why? Well, the first thing is, are you telling me there's a lack of talent open to an offer? Because that's fake news.
It's there. They're there, which again comes back
Yeah.
from a management point of view, which is what we want to be doing, is creating ecosystems that engage people where they want to stay and they want to put in. But let's actually get the right people in there. And certainly, as we say, don't try and make silk purses out of sow's ears. Get the good people in there. And that requires a strategic, systematic approach that you've been talking about today. David, thanks so much. And as you say, there probably needs to be a part 2 of this at some point in the near future, and we'll stay in touch and set that time up. But thanks for your time today. Thanks, David.
My pleasure. Good luck, business owners.
Thanks, mate.